Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Elevate Planning Party 2026. This is Elevate 2.0. Super excited to have you all here. It's something we do annually because, I personally, myself, I was tired of constantly resetting my goals. How many of you have been there? Like it feels like every year you have new goals, new taste buds, all of a sudden you want to, revamp your whole life every year. So for me, I was just tired of it. It's just like, how can I elevate? Just, make progress, go from one place to the other. That's really what motivated me to really start digging deeper. And so we now have Elevate Planning Party yearly, and this is our second time. So before we go into this whole planning phase and all that, I want to share a moment with you about my own personal season. I was in the season where on paper everything looked great. I was teaching, I was leading different organizations, I was showing up for family, my students, my different committees. I mean, if you know me, I was all over the place doing it all. And someone would say doing the most. I had the planners, I had some sort of system working for me. I had some goals that, seemed like a smart goal to work with, but if you know me, I'm very, very reflective. I had to sit back and said, nothing was wrong, but it just felt like something was off. I don't know if someone has felt like things are going well, but you just know within you, all the applause and wow, how did you do all that? How are you doing all that? Is all wonderful and all, but as you're sitting, you're just thinking, just something doesn't feel right. It wasn't that I didn't know how to set goals. I was setting goals almost every quarter, right? But it's just for me, what it showed me was I was setting the goals, but something was wrong. Something wasn't clicking. And that is what we're going to talk about. Has anyone felt that way? Am I the only one here? I see the nods and all, right? It's like everyone else is applauding and you kind of dance with that applause, but deep inside, you just know something isn't quite there. And so we are going to dive in deeper into that today. And we have our awesome guest as well who will tackle different parts of the talk. All right. Now let's go to this. And so you've heard this before that most goals fail. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of things that people want to do, especially around this year. You wake up one day in December and you're like, why is my life like this? Why am I still here? It's December. Oh my goodness, I'm going to change my life all over again. By January, you're so excited, signed up for what you need to sign up for, do what you need to do. And then February comes, and if I were to just whisper in your ears and ask, so what? You'd be like, oh, don't talk to me about it. This is not the right time. And. So, what we're about here is how do we build goals that actually last so that we don't keep resetting it? To me, I believe that our goals are goals that are supposed to expand, they're supposed to mature with time, right? Not in a sense expiring. All right. So you can do everything right and still, this is where the issue is be building on the wrong foundation. All right. And so the key part is what foundation are you building on? So when we took the survey of what where people are, a lot of you mentioned that you want to advance in your career, build financial structures, grow spiritually, emotionally, have stronger family life, better health and wellness. You want clarity. And we even saw it in the chat today. There's a lot of need for clarity, discipline. How many of you want to finish some things you started? Like you've started, it's been years, decades, and you really want, some of you want to increase your financial status. And so, or even some, some things that you need to do, some business ideas, side streams that you want to venture into, and you just don't know where to start. And so, with all this, it's unfortunate to say that, you know, all of these are wonderful. By February, I would ask you the same question, and you will say, well, Yeah, we're working on it. You don't even want me to bring it up at all. And so today, I hope that when you leave this place, you will have, you will know that you're not only setting necessary goals, but you're setting worthy goals. And I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Not because I have to set goals. I don't want to necessarily set good goals. I want to set worthy goals because I know you being here tells me a lot about you. You're not lazy. It's not about the lack for discipline, right? It's just that your goals that you're setting and the weight that you're putting on those goals, your goals cannot hold it. So you got to build the right structure, right? Now, in the right structure, you are told this, and I'm just setting up the stage, all right? It's getting harder. So just stay with me here. How many of you have heard about the SMART goals? Have used it, heard it? How many of you have done that? How many of you have heard about SMART goals? Great. Awesome. I don't know why my hands are out. You've heard about the SMART goals. Some of you, I'm sure, have, applied it, right? And I'm not going to go into much details about that, but if you're not, you can take it like SMART means that when you're setting a goal, as make sure that it's specific, you can measure it, you can, you're setting up structures to help you attain it. It's relevant and then it's timely. Now, we've been taught this goal, this SMART approach for a while, right? But this approach is to help you execute a goal. And I want you to catch this because I believe this will change the way you approach your goals starting now. Now, the interesting part about this whole thing is that, this is what SMART, when you set the SMART goals, they are great. But then the SMART goals assumes that the goal you've set is right, is the right goal. Imagine working so hard towards something that isn't the right thing after all, right? And so some people set goals, they can set goals that are seasonal. People set goals because, they want to compare their lives with others. They are driven by pressure. They are driven forward by fear, or inspired by this January hype, right? It's the end of the year, the new year is coming up. I need to do something. Honestly, people end up setting shallow goals. So you have these shallow goals, and you are using this strategy tool to fulfill these shallow goals, only to come back 2 years later or a year later and say, no, this wasn't it. It didn't work the whole year, right? And so it is so important that we do the right thing. So here at Elevate, what we're about to do is this, is that we're not only setting SMART goals. Before we use that SMART, I don't even want to say SMART goals. SMART is the approach, right? We have to set wise goals. How many of you want to learn how to set goals that is wise, that can stand the test of time, that a goal that you can use over and over and over and over? You're not resetting, you are just amplifying. How many of you want to? I want to. So we're going to dive right into it. You ready? Are you ready? 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 So when you are setting the goals, and please keep a note, write these things down. You will not find this anywhere. And so this is specially for you. When you are setting SMART goals, it asks you, how can I get this goal done? When can I get it done? And how much? But then wise goals will ask you, what is that why? From where are you starting and to where are you going? Right. And so it changes the type of goal. So this really stops you from reacting in a sense. Right. And so SMART will help you build the structure, which I'm not bashing in any way. What I am saying is that, first of all, screen your goals using the WISE method, then apply the SMART method, the SMART goals. All right. And so that's what we're going to do in today's talk. So I'm going to go through it with you through the WISE method so that you'll be able to apply it anytime. This WISE method will stand the test of time. So let's get to it. So the first one here is we're going to look at whys. If you're setting a goal, you want to figure out what is my why. When you start setting a goal because somebody else did it or you felt so motivated, be careful. Calm down. Take a nap. Talk to your, someone, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to answer, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to show off? Am I doing this because I feel like I'm behind? Am I doing this because, I have to prove something, or is that end of the year, new year? If that is what it is, it will not hold, right? So wise goals mature. Wise goals, they do not get replaced. Can I get someone to say that in the chat? It does not get replaced. It does not get replaced after the excitement has passed. It just does not get replaced, right? So many people don't accomplish their goals, not because the goals are unrealistic. It's because it was, again, as I mentioned, rooted in comparison, ego, pressure, or fear. If the reason for which you are setting the goals is in comparison, ego, pressure, or fear, forget about it. You will come back next year and do the same thing again. Wise goals need to be understood. It needs to resonate with you. Okay. And so once it does that, then you'll be able to proceed, and we're building it up. All right. Is that good? The second thing, you need to filter your goal. So one is your why. The next is integrity. SMART does not screen for that. SMART, again, is assuming your goals are good. This is for you. But if you didn't filter it through the why, right, at least it will get you here in integrity. What is your real motive behind this goal? What is the real motive? Because it's how successful you are should be tied to your integrity, right? So if you have to trade your integrity for the goal, okay, so I want to be advanced in my career so that, people will know that this is me and all of that. Okay. But with that mentality, you will do anything. You will sacrifice your spiritual life. You will sacrifice time with your family. You will sacrifice many things just to be able to advance in that career. You understand? Same thing if you want to build a business. If you're not understanding why, because I want to make lots of money, or I'm tired of being broke, I'm tired of being in this stage, I need to come up with another stream of income. You already have a 9 to 5. Then you add another job that is draining you. Your health is at stake, right? You are now having to cut corners just to make some money to for that dream. Again, that is going to be an issue there, right? Again, so your integrity is at stake. Who do you see yourself to be? Your motive, does that reflect in the goal that you're doing? All right. So if the goal requires you to be someone you don't want to be, don't bother setting that goal. Does it require you to violate certain values you have, that you've upheld certain principles? Then it's not the goal. Okay. The next thing is surrender. A wise goal is not just an achievement, it is submitted. And this is something that may escape or elude many. Wise goals don't get replaced, as I mentioned. So if you're setting a goal and it's to show that you've achieved something, it is not a sustainable one. Next year, you'll come back and set again. But if it's a goal that you have surrendered to God, God is the new year. Inquire of Him. What do you want me to do? You're giving me this time. God, is this goal aligned with who you are shaping me to become? Is this just something I want to achieve, or is it for you, for me, right? Because unsurrendered goals would demand would control you, because you've, I got to do it, I've got to do it. But when you surrender it, you now tap into grace. I'm not going to preach, but I'm just sharing with you this key. A lot of times, the reason why the year will end and things are not done is because you might be operating in your own way, taking control it on your own way. But if you submit it first, these are the things I want to do, God. I know that if they are your goals, it will not be replaced. It would only mature or expand. Is this in a selfish ambition? Help me, because once I surrender, I can now operate and tap into grace. The last but not the least is this goal eternal? You can be hitting milestone, graduated, got the job, got married, done this, got the business, all of that, making progress, staying consistent, and still be heading the wrong direction. Do you know in life there are soccer, what is it? Soccer players will tell you there are two goalposts. I don't know much about soccer. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you go the wrong direction, guess who you are scoring for the other team? I don't know. Does the other team get the score? If you can say, oh, I didn't know. Ignorance is not bliss. There are many people hitting milestones in life, right? They've achieved all of that. But then at the end of the day, they feel like, why do I feel a certain way about this? You don't want to wake up years later and say, oh, I'm successful, I'm accomplished, but I'm still empty because there's no eternity in mind. So the key part is that you want to move closer to what you're being called to live. So you can see how there's a lot of internal work that needs to go. So it's so interesting seeing people so excited about setting goals. I'm like, to where? Where's your goalpost? What does that mean? Right? So wise goals do not change. The wise goals do not change. Wise goals do not change. They are placed, they are coming from a place of, in these filters we've done, and that creates that eternal impact that you're looking for. All right. And so I wanted you to have that mindset because we're going to be going quickly into with our speakers today. I'm excited. And our speakers are going to talk in light of that. Right. So our speakers are going to explore these key areas. As I've mentioned, the goal doesn't change, but the strategy can. And I didn't want to talk for them. They're going to touch it. So I try not to speak at all. I'm really trying them. So I'll leave that. And then we're going to hear that every wise goals will be tested. Trust me. That's why by February, some of them is blown away because it's like butterfly fly away. It doesn't hold substance. Some goals are like, paper. As soon as it catches fire, it's gone. Last but not the least, every meaningful goal will require some form of investment. And so we're going to have our speakers talk to us right now, and they're each going to talk on these key areas. We have three amazing speakers right now. And so we're going to get practical, right? Wisdom doesn't stop at discernment. Wisdom must be lived, it must be tested, it must be invested in. All right. And so, without further ado, help me welcome our first speaker. She's going to introduce herself, but our first speaker for the night is going to be Dr. Rhoda, and she's going to be talking about, your goal, keeping your goal as it is, but then sharing her story about how things have transitioned over time with the goal still being in mind. So let's welcome Dr. Rhoda on stage.
Hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. K, for this opportunity. My name is Rhoda Ayi. I'm a medical doctor, and I'm going to talk about transitioning shift, and this is about overcoming fear and stepping into your next level. So the transition we're talking about, as Dr. K has mentioned, is not about changing your job, your vision, your goal. It's actually about a shift in identity, a shift in identity. And I want to start by saying that transition is not failure, it's refinement. And as you hear my story, it will make sense. So I came to the US with very big goals and dreams. I was excited to come, and then transitions started happening just as it would happen for everyone. First of all, my dad, who was like my financial support, fell ill. he fell ill, so there was no financial support. So that was the first shock for me. And then I had challenges in my relationship, and I also had a child. Meanwhile, my goal here was to take my board exams and practice medicine in the US. So at the time, I was so confused. Um, I was like, oh my God, what's going on with my life? How am I going to move forward? Like everything, I was shattered, honestly, I was shattered. And on top of it, I had friends who were like, oh, it's okay, you've done your undergrad, you have your master's, you have your doctorate. It's okay, just find something to do. You can divert, get some job to do, and take care of your kid. All you need is money to take care of your kid. And at the time, it sounded convincing, but it didn't resonate with me. I actually went to St. Louis Community College to register for some classes. I was like, okay, maybe um I'm overthinking, I'm over dreaming, I'm thinking too big. When they say smart goals, you need to be realistic. Maybe I'm not being realistic with my current situation. So I went to register at St. Louis Community College, but something just didn't feel right at all. And so I was browsing through Instagram and I saw a meeting like this towards the end of the year, Elevate Planning Party. And I was like, okay, let me come, just to join and see what's going on. Um, and that was when I was just blown away. I realized that first of all, when I came to the meeting, I saw possibility. I don't know, just by listening to Dr. K those few minutes, I'm already recharged for 2026. That's the same way I felt when I came. I was like, wow, where has this been all these past years? I've just been struggling and listening to all these advice. I saw possibility. I saw that my dreams were valid. I saw that I could achieve. So, and then I learned that the goal didn't need to change, but the strategy needed to change. So that was the first thing I came. So we have here I joined after the meeting, after the elevation party. I was like, this is for me. This is the kind of people I need. I joined the group. We have our monthly meetings, we have quarterly meetings, we have the opportunity to speak with Dr. K one-on-one. We have assignments. I just took advantage of everything. I was just soaking it all in. I was taking everything. And I actually started practicing the things we are learning, because we start from the basics. We start from the basics. And just this first 10 minutes, you can tell we are not rushing, we are not rushing anywhere, but we are purpose driven. So my fear started to melt away, the confusion started to melt away. And Dr. K just mentioned something that when your dreams are unsurrendered, you are like pushing and I felt like I was running against time. I was running against time. I don't even know where I was going, but that's how I felt. But when I listened to Dr. K, I felt at peace. Now I could actually sit down and write out a plan, plan properly, purpose-driven plans, not fear-driven, not need-driven. Like I'm talking about financial need, because it got to a time I was literally working on the hours based on my financial needs. So I was struggling. But I said, no, I need to live a purpose-driven life and not a need-driven life, not a fear-driven life, you know. And so I started to look at my goals, my plans, my visions. I didn't change anything. I dropped the community college classes and then I started working on them. So going through the process, I gained clarity. Now I understood what I was supposed to do without comparing. Dr. Kertura mentioned that already, without comparing myself to my friends, without comparing myself to anybody, just running the race ahead of me. And then when we joined the OML, Organize My Life, one of the first things I learned was that I am a creator. I am a creator. And that really changed my mind, So I said, out of my current situation, I can create the plans and purposes God has for my life. I can actually actualize those visions, those goals, those dreams. So that was the first thing I took. And then I began to, work on myself. And also because I was so fear driven, I had neglected myself. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating right. But when you're here, you're not chasing your goals and neglecting every other thing. No, you're actually going according to God's plan, God's purpose, God's timing for your life. So I learned to do that. I started to actually take care of myself whilst pursuing my purpose. And when I had any question, I took advantage of anything. Anytime I was confused or down, I'll just take advantage of the one-on-one with Dr. K. And it's almost like a divine direction. Like once she speaks, there's peace and I get that momentum again and I'm going. So at this time, I'm just running my own race without fear, without anxiety, and the beautiful thing about it is that the goal hasn't changed. The goal hasn't changed. I'm still on that goal and building on it, working on it, and that is what I love. And also, we have our community hub, which I'm a part of, and I was very active on the community hub. One thing I realized was that you cannot run your vision, your goal alone. You cannot run it alone. You have to run it with other people who are like-minded and purpose-driven. So in this community hub, I actually picked one thing from one person. I'll pick one strategy from one person, one tip from one person, and then I'll apply it and it will work. So I realized that, okay, you don't do this alone in your corner, but you do it with others. You do it with others. And so in this community, I learned to like work with others whilst pursuing my purpose. So I've become confident, I've gained clarity, I'm working on my exams, I have a tutor, like I was able to take steps that are meaningful and would actually drive me or would take me to my goal. And I just want to say that transition can feel uncomfortable because you need a shift in your identity. Like with everything that was happening around me, it was so new to me. And I didn't realize that it was a transition until I came here. But then so that made me realize I also need to shift my identity. And then also people will tell you, like my friends told me that, oh, your goals are unrealistic with what is going on. No, I realized that my goals are actually valid. I just needed the right strategy to fit in with it. So I didn't feel stuck anymore. Like I didn't feel like I was lost anymore. In fact, I began to say that the obstacle is the way. That's how I began to talk to myself. You know, I began to say the obstacle is the way. So I've never been a mom while studying, but now the obstacle is the way. And one of the things that I also realized and I want to share with you is that you don't need to see the full picture because when you're waiting to see everything, you might not take any step at all. You might not take any step at all. You just need clarity for that first step. And then when you take that step, the next clarity will come. And that's how you build on it. That's how you actually build on it. So I just want to ask, what is one or two things that is on your heart that won't go away, that has been your dream, your vision, your goal for 2 to 3 years and you've done nothing about it? What is that thing? And just think about it. In 2026, you have the opportunity to gather momentum to actually work on those dreams, to actually work on those goals without stopping in February, without, you have this new opportunity to start without stopping. So let's think about it. What is that dream, that goal, that vision? Thankfully, we've had our wise steps today to help us curate that properly so that we can achieve our dreams. So I'll hand over back to Dr. K.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. That was amazing. Let's give it up. Let's give it up to Dr. Rhoda. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Share what you've received. I was just dropping all. Yes, your goals are valid. And the obstacle is the way. Yes, yes. So please, we don't change, our goals like moods, okay? They're not they're not moods. Your goals are foundation. If someone wants to revamp a house, guess what? They remodel the inside, right? They don't go and then dig the foundation up again. And you have done just that and shared your story. Thank you so much. Yes, you only need clarity for the next step. If you're not seeing the whole picture, that's okay. Keep the goal alive. Thank you so much. Let's give it up once more. Once more. Wow, that was good. That was amazing. Thank you. I hope keep those. I hope you're writing. It's just it's we're building here. So our next guest we have drum roll. We have Miss Lorena here, Sally, who will be sharing with us that your goals will be tested through fire. If it to test the quality of your goal. So if it burns up by January ending, you just know you will come back resetting. And no wonder God is so merciful. So hear her story about how your goals will be tested. All right, let's go. Welcome. Welcome. Good to have you.
Ooh, thank you so much, Dr. Adams. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rhoda, for that. That was powerful. So for some of you who do not know me, my name is Lorena. I am a licensed therapist. I'm also a doctoral student for in I'm studying counseling and psychology. And I'm an author. If you follow my page, you may see some of my works. I specialize in trauma therapy. Um, and so today I just want to talk about something that we don't really discuss enough, which is that testing, right? That emotional healing, emotional resilience, connection. Um, and to just kind of facilitate that topic, I'm going to talk a little bit about my story and just kind of tie it all in, okay? Um, so my story started, I'm originally from Liberia. And so when I immigrated to the United States, I was trafficked by family members. And so, for those of you who do not know what trafficking is, as soon as someone says trafficking, people automatically think sex trafficking. That's not it. Um, that's one form of it. Trafficking is labor trafficking, domestic servitude, child drug trafficking, things like that. For me, it was enslaved as a domestic slave, really. Me and my mom was labor trafficked. And um, so my journey year in the U.S. and really pursuing a better life for myself, for my mom was pursuing a better life for me, and me pursuing a better life for myself. Started off with pain, started off with trauma, but it was from there that I met the Lord. And then as I was going through, growing up, going to college and everything, it's there that I started to really kind of know what my calling was, the Lord revealing it to me. And I knew I was called to heal. I knew I was called to help people with their mental health, with emotional pain, emotional trauma. And so I was working towards that goal, right? So I decided to be a therapist. So I went to school. I'm in school. And then 2021, I am tested. Okay. So my mom from 2016 to 2021, there was just a lot of different health issues, battling with different things here and there. And in 2021, she passed away. It was a shock for me. Was not expecting that, and the way she passed away was very, very, very difficult for me. Um, and because it was still kind of COVID time, I wasn't allowed to see her, right? And so I actually ended up hearing my mom die on the phone. She coded. And that's a story in of itself. But and so that was shocking for me. And then a month later, my father passed away. Um, so um, you know, all of a sudden, within a span of a month, I'm an orphan. I lose my home because my step died. And I'm going through this very, very quickly, and it's relevant. My stepfather committed fraud, stole my inheritance, and then ended up marrying my mom's best friend that he was allegedly having an affair with while my mom was fighting for her life. So you can imagine the emotional turmoil, pain, anger, resentment, um, that I was dealing with. And all this while, right, I have this call in my life to heal people, to help people. And I'm working towards that. I'm literally getting my hours to be a licensed therapist. And so, um, and then, I mean, I'm getting tested, right? So lose my home, lose everything in it. I wasn't allowed to take anything. He sold all my stuff. Um, and I'm like, God, I'm working three jobs, trying to survive. I lost friends. We didn't understand why I wasn't calling them, things like that, right? But I'm saying all of this to say, right? There was something that I used to say, that the Lord corrected me on. I thought that what I was going through, I didn't understand, right? I was like, am I being punished? Like, what is going on? Like, God, you've given me this dream, you've given me this purpose, right? And I'm working, I'm in these goals for this purpose, and now this is happening to me. Like, you literally, like, my life has just completely turned upside down. How am I supposed to help people, heal, who have suffered loss, when I'm going through this? And I used to say this thing of like, if therapists need major therapy, yes, actually, all therapists is advised to have their own therapist. I have my own therapist, but yes. So, and something I used to say was, God, I used to say, well, I have to choose my hell. Okay. I mean, that's how mentally like overwhelmed I was. I was like, I have to choose a hell. I like my mindset, I was, and I'm being very transparent, right? I was suicidal. I was just not in the right mental space. I was alone. Um, I lost a lot. Like, I mean, I lost so much, right? And so I used to say, I have to choose my hell. I have to choose my hell. Like, either like hell here or hell there, right? But then there's something that the Lord revealed to me. So this is where awareness comes in. When you are going through emotional pain and emotional turmoil, this is where your awareness comes in. So Isaiah 48:10 says, See, I have refined you, though not as silver, I have tested you in the furnace of affliction, right? And so to recognize when you are working towards a goal, there are people, there are souls attached to you. Okay. The enemy also knows where you're going, right? And God knows where you're going, but there are certain things that He needs to make sure that you are able to withstand when you get there, okay? That you have the emotional capacity to handle where He's taking you as well, right? Um, and so remembering that you are being refined, you are not being punished, but you're being refined. And so that was where the shift happened for me. And then I had a conversation with Dr. Adams where she highlighted this for me. She said, I apologize if you hear noise in my background. She highlighted this for me. She said that there are people, there's something that I carry, there's something that is of value that the people that are in my future will need, right? And so where you're going, there are people that you will meet there that need what you have. Okay. And so and so just moving on. I'm so sorry if you hear anything in my background. But yeah, so there are people in your future that needs what you carry. So when you have that awareness, right? And then also there are people God has placed in the midst of what you're going through to help you. It is important that you recognize that. Okay. Not only do you recognize the refinement that you're going through, but you recognize the community that you're in, right? The Lord says, I will never leave you, neither forsake you. Okay. And so when he says, I'll never leave you, neither forsake you, that means that he's in there with you in the midst of it all. And so he has connected you to help. Okay. And so that's where community comes in. And so when I had that coaching session with Dr. Adams and the Lord revealed this refinement to me, it shifted my mindset. I said, okay, I am I'm being refined. There's a reason why I've gone through these things, right? There is a way that I will be able to relate to people that maybe someone else that hasn't gone through what I've gone through will be able to. And so when you are tested with your goal, most people may think like, oh, okay, like maybe this means this isn't for me, right? Maybe this means that this is like I should pivot, I should turn, right? Maybe this is just, maybe I'm not meant to be there. No, that's when you press on, you press through, right? Because you are being tested, for what is ahead of you. Okay. There is a refinement that is happening because of I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Because of the magnitude of where you're going. Okay. And so your goals are very, very important. I know we're on here, we're talking, we're talking about 2026, we're planning and stuff, but your goals are connected to your purpose. Okay. So they're very, very important. And that's why they're getting tested. Um, and so remembering, having that awareness, having that community, acknowledging that community that you're in. Okay. So once that happens, right, the shift happens, and then you start to gain a little bit more confidence. Okay. You gain confidence, you have better decision making. You start to recognize your emotional triggers. Okay. You start to recognize, okay, these are burdens that I'm taking, or these are burdens that I'm taking on. Let me release this to be able to go to the next level. Okay. Let me release this to be able to go to the next level. Because the thing is about emotional baggage or emotional weight is that it's going to hold you back. Okay. You may think, well, I can just, like I can try, but it's going to show up in your output. All right. I became aware that I was carrying this emotional weight because of inconsistency in my output. I was trying to help people, but then I was like, it was like a back and forth, back and forth. There would be times I would help, and there would be times, because there was that inconsistency happening. Okay. And so once you release that, okay, you release that, and I will help you in how to release that. So you release that and you recognize those emotional triggers. You recognize the ways that the enemy may try to come and discourage you, then you will start to elevate. Okay. Then life won't happen to you. You take control. All right. You take back control and you navigate through life. You're not over there being pushed by the waves. You're swimming against the current at that point. Okay. And so I just want to leave you with that. Awareness and community, right? Awareness and community, and also being transparent, okay? To release emotional weight, to release emotional burdens, to be able to go to your next level, to be able to handle what is ahead of you, you need the awareness, you need the community, and you need the release. All right. And so that's where I'm a big supporter of therapy. Okay. And so there are things God has placed in your life. There are resources God has placed in your life. There are people that God has placed in your life. This is a resource. Okay. There are people that are here that could help you. All right. So if it's something like financial burden, for example, right, it's weighing heavily on your mental health. Yes, therapy, but then you also have someone probably in this community that knows that has the help for you, right? That has the strategies that you need to be able to release yourself from that emotional weight, right? If it's you have no idea how to childcare, right? It's hard, right? Childcare is hard. It's impacting your ability to reach your goals, your ability to even have manage your time. I mean, Heritech has resources, right? We have communities to help you to be able to manage your time. This is why we're here, right? And so, I really encourage you to tap into your community, tap into the connections that you have, release those emotional weights, okay? But then really recognize that it's a test. It's not a punishment. It is a test. That just means that you're closer to where you're going and that the magnitude like of what is in front of you is beyond your comprehension and that there are people connected to your destiny, that are waiting for you. All right. And so you take encouragement from that and you keep moving forward. And so my question for you guys is this, okay? What are some, emotional weights that you do not want to carry into 2026? Because remember, what you don't deal with is going to show up. Okay. I have this quote that, if you don't grieve, pain will show up in places you don't want. So if you don't deal with it, if you don't address things, it's going to show up. So what are some emotional weights that you don't want to carry? I want you to reflect on that, and use what we've talked about here to move forward. So that is a little bit about emotional resilience and testing. All right. Thank you.
Amazing. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let's give it up. Thank you so much, Lorena. Let's give it up to our second speaker. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. There's so much to unpack here. And and that's what the community is about. This is to give you, different angles and there's a lot more we'll get to unpack. And as you mentioned, we also have a therapist in the community right there. So it's like it's all that one-stop shop. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. Let's give it up again. Please, if there's anything shared in the chat, you don't have to carry it alone. You are one person away from the answer. And at the end of the day, no man is an island. Amazing. Emotional pain isn't seem like an external wound, so it can be a lot to carry. But your wounds rather become a seed for healing. So, so beautiful. Yes, you are not just being stubborn. You're not just being stubborn in the wrong direction. Yeah. So there's that. And if time is left, we'll have some Q&A sessions. So we'll have that. But I want to and say thank you so much, Lorena. Thank you. I want to mention to you, this is just amazing. So far, you've gotten some strategies. Now, the reason why we mention about the SMART goals, and I want to bring that to you. So, for example, Lorena has mentioned about her story, right? With what she's feeling, she would make certain goals. She could either make goals like this year, I'm cutting everybody off, This new year, I'm doing me. I've been through a lot. And I just, this therapy thing job, purpose lane I'm in is not for me. How can I help someone when I'm going through this? And can you imagine how her goal would have been versus filtering that goal through wise, creating not a good goal, but a wise goal and saying, what is my why, right? What is the integrity that's kept behind? Am I surrendering this goal to God? Because if it was me, I'm going this way, and then is it eternal? And look how that shifts. And you can see she is walking in a wise goal. This is what I mean by practical. It's just like our speaker, also Dr. Rhoda has mentioned transitions, sharing her story, having to, reroute certain difficulties just to uphold a wise goal. All right. Now, many people ask a question, what is God's purpose for my life? I want to know God's purpose for my life. Well, to know God's purpose for your life, at least start with taking wise goals, right? Take your time to build goals, not just, oh, I'm losing weight, I'm getting a car this year, take your time to set up wise goals. And I believe that those goals will lead you and make your purpose more and more clear. All right. Okay. All right. So let's move. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. How are you learning something? Let me know in the chat. Are you glad you're here? Amazing. Yes, truly amazing. Well, Please, yeah, anything, just questions you have also shared in the chat. So we have our next speaker, and we have Archie, Mr. Archie, who will be speaking with us about investing in a wise goal, investment regarding your time, your effort, and your finances. And so I will open the floor. Welcome on stage. Mr. Archie will introduce himself and we'll get right into it. Welcome. We are ready.
Thank
Welcome,
you. Thank
welcome. Let's
you.
give it up.
How do I follow these amazing
I know it's
speakers?
tough
Wow.
speaker.
Wow. Wow. I think a lot was touched on in their presentations because I mean, when I think one thing that Katie is uh, Dr. K is hitting on a lot is you got to remember the goal does not change, and remember that through this, the goal does not change, and more and more as I was asked to speak for this planning event and party, I was trying to think about what are the things that I want to touch on, right? So that I can kind of give you guys some actionables to be able to really, you know, start now and go into 2026, ready to conquer, and not waiting until 2026, but starting now and actually taking actionables to really move the needle, right, for you in whatever way, right? So for me, what I was thinking, I was like, what kind of encapsulates my season that I was in, this past year? And one I'd have to say is spiritually, personal, kind of things that I went through that shaped, you know, where my direction is, right? Also kind of planting what is the goal, and is this goal going to stand the test, right? And Dr. Rhoda and Lorena talked about that, right? The grit you have to really fight through and fight for the goal, because it will be tested. Trust me, it will be tested, and you find that, especially when you are aligned and you're getting more aligned with the goal that you, or your purpose that you're trying to attain. So spiritually, I think is very imperative that you really align with that, right? We usually think that the Bible is, spiritual encouragement or whatnot, but it's a manual, it's direction, right? You got to think of it in all those terms, so that you can really use that as a guide. And every answer we seek is in there: instruction, guidance, all those things is in the word. So you got to be aligned spiritually. And if you don't take anything from this conversation, I mean, one thing I would say, dial in, is nothing you do, or you feel, or you kind of want to attain, there's nothing that I feel like you can't find the answer in the book. So really, really use that as a stepping stone for you to really move forward in the right direction, into your goals, and again, really stamp on your goals. The other thing I think to really hit on again with this planning towards a new season. I know we talk about financials and finances and everything like that. And it's a hard conversation for most people. I know it is for me, whether through through with your partner or yourself, and having real conversations about finances. With how do you fund the goal, right? How do you really put money towards it? And I think when we talk about finances, a lot of people will go towards the number, right? The amount. What is it going to cost to fund this thing? What is the dollar amount? But I want to really shift your mindset about, it's not about just the money, right? It's what is truly going to cost in this other different aspects of really attaining your goal, right? Your time, your effort. Finances, again, is part of it, but it's not the main thing. And there's ways I want you to think about it, where it's like you can attack your goals and not have money or whatnot be the the blocking or the, you know, the hump that you have to get over to get to your goals, because there's ways around it. And again, the two speakers before me did an amazing job on touching on that, right? Connection and really building, um, with people, reaching out and really connecting to make that work, right? And I'll tell you a little bit of my story. Um, my background is in real estate investing. I love real estate. I'm a real estate investor, and I love to do that. On my day job, I do I call it glorified carpentry, but it's in the realm of real estate, right? In new builds and things like that. And so that's kind of my bread and butter. I love to be in that world because for me, it helped me create value where most people can't see. And I say this is kind of my superpower is I like to really, I can find deals, I can be creative, I can really see the future of what this could be, right? And you have to kind of be able to see that, especially when you're dealing with investment properties and, flipping and things like that, right? You have to see the beautiful picture when you're looking at something that is not so beautiful right now. And that is how you have to think, and punch through the times where things are hard, right? Because it doesn't look pretty right now, but it's going to look good. It's going to be better for somebody. It's going to get more purposeful where you are aligned and you're walking in that purpose and that goal and bringing it to fruition, right? And so for me, my mindset shift had to be, how do I align with my goal? And again, going back to the book, the Bible helps you really align with what God has for you. And my story was, man, I mean, I'll tell you, 2024, that whole year, God was, laying on my heart, and I was not listening, right? It's a muscle you got to really, really train, right? God was, I felt on my heart that God was telling me, move this way, move this way, this way. But a lot of the time we get stuck in um, our own way of doing things, right? When we're trying to accomplish a goal, we're like almost trying to force force hand it to get it to where we want it to look like, the way we want it to operate, and all those things. And God has a purpose. He has a plan. He has a goal for your goal. And so when it gets stumped, when it gets stopped, you're wondering like what's going on, right? And a lot of it is again being aligned with the goal and the purpose through Christ, who really, like I say, pushes you through that, right? And so for me, when that mindset shift happened, part of that was really having to undo and erase a lot of I guess knowledge that has been passed on to me about money, knowledge that has passed on to me about finances and all those things. Like a lot of that has to be erased, right? So that you can rewrite you know, some of those things that a little bit better to align with your goal a lot better moving forward. And I got to say, Dr. K and it's been a big part of that, being able to really set back and have accountability and responsibility for my actions and what I am, how I'm operating, and that having that external kind of counsel, including, God as well, that helps a lot in really, aligning with your goal. And again, the the preaching, and you've heard everybody talk about it, the goal does not change. You have to continue to push to align with that, and that really helped me in a sense of that. So being spiritually aligned, again, helps a lot. And number two, to tack onto that is the getting in the right rooms, right? And being in the place where you can find accountability, proximity to higher levels that can allow you to grow and break through to the next part of your goal, right? And so really like simply in this season that I was in, a lot that I learned was just being able to be in the right rooms and being able to sit at the right table does so much for your personal goals that you can't even go because what it might take you, you know, running around in circles, going here, going there to really get to the next part of your phase or your goal could be just like I believe Lorena said, then just one person away from really breaking through that ceiling so you can move on to the next level. So that is so important. The community and a council helps a lot. And for many of you, this might be one of those communities for you, and there's going to be plenty, right? As you grow and as you really start to unfold your goals, you start to understand, okay, what communities I need to be in, what council do I need to be a part of, what tables do I need to sit, right, to be able to kind of move and project to the next level. So that is a huge part of it. And then the third part I'll leave you guys with is be very, very intentional with your circle. And that part really um kind of touches on all the previous points because the the intentionality with your circle allows you to be able to, if you're wanting to grow spiritually or align spiritually, it helps you do that without because you're going to come go through trial and tribulations, but you need that community and that circle around you that can help prop you up in the places that you might need that emotional and spiritual help. But also, as much as we talk about that as well, that's where also we talk about financial aspect or help in ways to support a goal or be able to align with the goal. You get to surround yourself intentionally with people that align with that goal as well and can be a stepping stone um, for your goal. Now, as much as you look for that in people and be intentional about that, you also have to be intentional about being that for other people, right? And being that for the people in your circle. And in this season in my life, I had to really come to terms with how am I a resource to the people around me? Am I a support to the people around me? Am I adding value to the people around me? Right. And so what does that look like for? And because yes, most as human nature, we tend to really take, from the people. But when you come from a point of view of like, how can I be what I would love for people to be for me? How can I be that to people? It's crazy how that really starts to align, right? How you really you start to become what you're seeking, right? And really help uh, shape out, okay, this is my goal that I'm trying to attain. How do I really build that community, that support, that circle around me that helps really attain those goals? And so for me, again, this community has been great. Yeah, as you guys may know, Dr. K is my sister, and even with that in the back, that doesn't make it any easier for me, or that doesn't uh give me an easy pass to say the least. But I have to be, you know, take responsibility for my actions. I have to show up, right? I have to um really step back and say, okay, what am I building, right? Really have after that mindset shift, after that alignment, like, okay, what does this look like moving forward? And you have to do the work. You have to put in the work, the time, the effort, right? All those things are going to be challenged because trust me, when you're aligned, those things come and you're tested and you have to be able to withstand because with that testing, with that being shaken, right? That that tests your foundation. How strong is that foundation? That shows you the weak points in your foundation and how do you address that, right? And so those are the main points I wanted to leave you guys with. And I'm sure we're going to have some Q&As. And if guys have any other questions, I'm more than happy to talk more on that. But really, again, I think as you go into 2026, right, I want you to think about it from a low-hanging fruit standpoint, right? Don't, yes, the dollar amount does play a part, but like look at it from an angle of what are the low-hanging fruit around me right now? What is the low-hanging fruit that is the conversation I need to have, right? The step I need to take. What is the basics, um, the resources around me right now that I can take advantage of, and start to step into that. Because again, what you're building goals wise and everything is not it's not accidental. You have to be intentional, and as you build your goal out, really once you start to put those pieces together, as everybody mentioned and everything like that, I think you start to see the world open up in ways that you've not been able to see otherwise. So appreciate you guys, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to share my story, and hopefully encourage you guys going into 2026 to really put a stamp on it. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give it up. Let's give it up for Archie. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's amazing what you shared, and I just wanted to mention this so people grasp what you're saying. Your focus was about finances, and you did not talk anything about, you need to put in $1,000 into your goals and all of that. The people is the social capital, right? So reach very far for the goal, but then the strategies are like a person next to you, like you can never say that, oh, I didn't have the resources to make the goal happen. And that is what he shared with us. What? Be spiritually aligned, be in the right rooms, be intentional with your circle, and you see how much your goal will be accomplished. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. Let's give it up. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, let me read it. It's so easy to wake up and go rather than aligning yourself with God. Yeah, if God knows where the pot of money is, that word you need from that person. It makes sense to be driven by God's word, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is so real. That's true. You have to train those listening ear. Yes. So that's what tells you where the money is. So before you're quick for the big investment or the $1,000, how many of you have to do some goals and you're like, man, I need about $10,000. I need about 20,000. By the time I hire this and get this help and do all of that, and then you just think maybe I'll do this when I'm much older, right? But here we share the strategies here that you know, that 50,000, but it's amazing. All he talked about were some very simple steps. And so I hope that you can take that to heart and watch the money flow. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now it's time to pass the offering basket. Everyone, let's give it up to all our amazing speakers. Can we give it up to all our amazing speakers? I want to give some time for questions for them. And so this is if you have any questions and if I was like, where is the other speaker? Adding them, please. Are there any questions? Ask away. We'll spend just a few moments. We'll ask some questions or some thoughts, anything. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. How do you identify your goals? What did you mean when you said this? What do you mean by that? All of those things. There was a question while we're getting people started, and I think that would be directed to you, Lorena, but anyone is also open to speak. How do you know, like, when are you enduring too much? When is enough? Like, should you keep is just going through this goal supposed to be that painful in a sense? When do you know, like, okay, God, no, I'm just being stubborn here. Maybe it's the other direction. When is it the right kind of pain?
Hmm. Um, for me, a marker for that was that in the midst of it, are people still coming to you to draw from you?
Mm.
Okay. And so if you're going the right direction. So people were still coming to me and asking me advice and wanting, and coming to me for healing, right? And coming to me for help in navigating emotional pain and all of that. So it's like the purpose doesn't stop because you're going through the testing. The purpose is still there. Like you're still walking through. You didn't just stop in the fire to burn. Okay. You're still walking through. And as you're walking through, you know, people still recognize, like, especially if it's your purpose and if it's your calling, people are going to be drawn to it inside of you. So even though you're going through the testing, it doesn't change. Like Dr. Adam says, the goal doesn't change, right? Nothing really changes. It's just like you are going through that personal fire. So, how do you know if it's too much? Well, honestly, that's between you and God.
Like the goal. It,
The goal doesn't change. And the thing is too, the Lord is right there with you in it. And my personal belief is this, like if it's some intense refining, right? Gold goes through some intense refining, right? The refinement of silver and the refinement of gold are a little bit different. Gold is put into the fire. Silver is it's put into like a crucible to be refined. And a crucible is like a very hot pot, right?
mhm,
So it melts and all of that. But gold is placed directly into the fire, right? So if you are gold, right, and the thing that you carry is going to impact like thousands or millions of lives, your testing is going to be probably very great. So if you are going through some really big things and it seems like, man, this is a lot. But the thing is, God says that He will never, he said he will never let you be tempted more than what you can bear. And I really do believe that the Lord will never let you, you will not be crushed, right? We're not crushed. We go through things, but we're not crushed, right? And so, that just means that your calling and what's on your life is huge, and there's a huge impact, that you're going to make, and that's why your testing is a little bit more intense. But
mhm,
if people are still coming to you, um, based off of what it is that you're called to do, then that means that you're on the right path,
yeah,
you know.
mhm,
So
yeah.
that's just
So
mine.
it's important. Thank you so much. So it's important to know the goal because there may be someone in you also going through exactly what you had gone through, Lorena, and say, God hates me. God must really hate me. And if they had not discovered their purpose, even start on their alignment. But I also want to encourage anyone, just when you thought, okay, I want to give it all to God, I want to, go through this purpose journey with God, and the goals start coming. Just be ready for a test. Not to scare you, but you need to be tested. You need to be tried. Would you ever sit in a plane with a pilot who has not been tested, who has not gone through the process? You need to go through the due process so that when you are speaking, when you are doing what you do, people will know that, nah, this one, there's a special kind of wind, that the grace has been unleashed because this person has allowed themselves to be tested and tried. And it comes in different forms. It just happened with Lorena being in a place of healing. She had to go through some serious healing in ways that only God knows. And when we get to heaven, we'll ask. But, it didn't come to deter her, but she saw the need for the purpose that she's walking in. All right. And so be encouraged with that, my brothers and sisters. All right. Next question here. How do you see the value in others to recruit them into your circle? Just who has time to making friends nowadays? And sometimes you make friends and it just, so how are you able to see the value in others so that you can recruit? Yeah, it's a recruiting thing. I love that. How do you do that?
I can take that
Yeah.
in a sense. I've um one of the things I'd say with that is I mean, there's not like a right answer of saying like, okay, this is this checklist to really find that person or whatnot. But one thing I would say is a lot of the time, like when things are we're talking about alignment, and I want to harp on that because you see it play out real time. Sometimes, a lot of the time, we're just kind of not even paying attention to it or whatnot. But when your job is not to make the choice of if that person like is perfect for your goal or whatnot. As you go through your goal, like as you're going through tests and everything like that, the people that are meant to be there with you will also stand with you. And as you go, you start to, once you again start to find the right rooms and things like that, part of it is connection and like aligning in interest and all those things. Like I think they all play a part in it, but it's not like a perfect like oh, these are the things you need to look for necessarily. And I think part of that too, you have to find what, again, as you're finding your alignment, you start to kind of fall in line with the people that are meant to be, flowing with you. And yeah, you will see red flags, you will see things that um doesn't mesh. And I think that comes with a lot of also discipline on your end, that as you're growing and you start to understand exactly where your goal and you're going, that answers that I guess choosing becomes a lot more easier because it almost works itself out pretty much.
It almost works. Yeah. So it's not like part of these things are living. You're living this day by day, and it requires sensitivity. But I believe that with what you've shared about being spiritually aligned, right? It's so key because then you realize that some people show up in your life or say certain things or just something someone will take casually to you. You found, or you find yourself in the right place at the right time. Just don't be it's this is true of someone who's very intentional about, walking in purpose. You see some things just aligning for you. So don't force it, but it might require your part to do certain things. And I think so please, that be spiritually aligned, be in the right room. Your job is to be, but if you leave it to God, He would guide your steps to it. Hope that answer. Thank you. And then I'll come back to another question here. There's a question for Archie, but how do you determine if you need to pivot, Doc? How do you determine if you need to pivot?
Um, how do you determine if you need to pivot? I
Mhm.
think the circumstances that come your way would kind of tell you if you, and again, we're not changing the goal, but sometimes you need to change the direction, the choices, the route. So that is when pivoting comes in. So, for example, when my dad could not finance me again, I needed to pivot, but it doesn't change the actual goal. I had to make a little bit of change here and there to finance myself. It might take a different route, but it's still leading to the same goal. So when the transitions are coming, there'll be some changes and, you know, that would come your way. For example, when being a mom, I learned this from Dr. K. Like I had to wake up an hour or two earlier before my kids so that I could do my planning, my prayer and everything. So those are the pivots that come in. But then at the end of the day, we are still sticking to the main goal.
It doesn't change.
Yeah.
It doesn't change, no matter how tested and tried. Yes, Larry wanted to mention something. Thank you, Doc. Yes.
Thank you. Um, Also to be mindful of the voices around you, right? And so if you're doing something, right, and maybe someone brings in an opportunity, you're like, well, and they're like, oh, this aligns with what you're doing, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. And it may seem great, it may seem like a great opportunity, but if it's not sitting well with your spirit, if you have brought it before the Lord and there is like a no in your spirit, follow that, right? Um, Being mindful of that. So sometimes we may need to pivot um from the fear of men and from like wanting to like please someone or do something that just seems right, right? And so really taking it, like making sure you're spiritually aligned, right? Really taking it to the Lord and saying, hey God, is this a yes, right? Because it may on paper look great, right? It may align with what you're doing and it seems, wonderful. And you're like, well, this aligns, right? But you don't know what is there before you, right? You don't know if like this could lead to something else, or it may not even seem that big of a deal. You don't know what opportunity is going to present to you, right? But don't look at people's faces, is what I'm trying to say. Like, don't look at people's faces, take it before the Lord, and He will tell you, like, no, and pivot and listen to that, right? Even if you have to stand firm and stand against the current, you stand against the current. Okay. And so that, I mean, I just wanted to make mention of that.
Yes, thank you. So that answered the question on how do you determine also. So that's great that you mentioned. How do you determine if the goal is aligned, the opportunity, I think it was here. What are some factors to look out for when determining if an opportunity is or is not aligned with you, right? So you're going to get many wonderful opportunities, sounds just like it. And from people that really that people that it seems right, but you again, that is why it's important to know, set the right goals, because that would determine what stays, what's aligned or not, right? And so yeah, I hope that you caught on to that. And if there are any questions, thank you all. There's a question here. You mentioned this for Archie. You mentioned that you're in real estate. As you become more grounded in the word of God, how did that shape your decision making and the way you thought through and navigate a situation in the real estate space?
A couple of things I would say. One is I think for me personally, growing up, like creating wealth and creating um, riches in a sense is kind of like had a little bit of a bad connotation or like a negative connotation, or you've heard the saying, money's the root of all evil, kind of yeah, just kind of things like that that really um, um, comes around money and things like that. And for me, I mean, I was, for me being in real estate, part of it is again creating value, right? That could be, flipping to make money and make profit and things like that. And I want to build, as I grow in that, I want to build a better foundation. And for me, that part in how do I approach real estate on the financial side of things, and like the the reason why I'm doing real estate for me was one that I think for me being in the word more kind of assured me that me looking to make build wealth and all those things is not in disalignment with what God wants for you, right? Because He wants you to build His kingdom and to be able to make a difference in people's lives. How do you do that? Some it takes finances, it takes capital in aspects, and how do you build that to be able to help people and further His kingdom? So I think a lot of it is like, okay, anything I approach, whether it be deal or looking at real estate from this standpoint of how can I use this to glorify Him? And I think a lot of that is what is rooted in. And then the other aspect of it is I feel that is through this past season for me was really, did I, piggybacking off of what I said earlier, did I build on His foundation or my foundation? Because on my foundation, I was really rocked, in when I was tried, and really kind of solidifies that, okay, this is what I need to, fix. This is what I need to really, make stronger. And so I think more and more, God speaks to us through the word, and really being able to see those things play out, or, what I thought was just my head playing with me was actually a word from Him, but I was not listening, right? And so things like that just really solidifying those encounters and those words, and really acting on it and using Him as a guiding compass in real estate for sure.
So, are there any questions, any other comments, final words? Few, let's see, 30 seconds. Final words to the to our able, awesome audience here, final words on the goal doesn't change, right? But what can change? Transition to you, right? Your strategy can change. We know the goal doesn't change. With Lorena, it will be tested. So I want you to comment on that. And the goal doesn't change. It requires an investment, which is you, Archie. So over to your final words as we close.
So I would say that whatever comes your way, the transitions that we go through, the goal, you look at the goal, you stay focused. You fix your eyes on it and keep looking for ways to get to that goal rather than changing and coming up with a whole new plan every year based on emotions, based on fear, based on people pleasing. But so that should be your goal, focusing on the goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Over to you. Thank you. Amen. Yes. Shaping.
I would say like just really start to undo some of these myths that you have and you've built based on what has been passed on from, we're all a product of the people that we've been around and we've grown up around and things like that. So start to really challenge some of these myths. And again, going back to the word can't give you clarity in that. But yeah, the myths you have about money, challenge those. Look at it. Is it truly that, right? And really kind of harp on that. Like, the myths you have about, certain things that you grew up with, the fears you have, and all those things, challenge those. And I think you'd be surprised how much as you ask questions and really um, solidify yourself in really seeking, okay, what does this align with what I'm trying to do, what my purpose is, and everything like that. Things start to open up for you in a sense of really, not having preconceived notions of certain things and really uh, rewriting. Now and the future and what it could be because you do have control of it. And on top of that, you got this. Like, don't forget, you got this. And I mean, just give it a shot, do it, and take that leap of faith and really see it come to fruition.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So final words for me is, when it comes to testing, right? Just know that you will be tested as you are um, reaching your goals, as you are, working towards your goals, right? If you are assured of your calling, okay, um, and that testing comes, recognize that it is a test, recognize that it is a period. It is temporary. It just means that what is before you is so great. And God is preparing you to be able to, to really strengthen yourself mentally and emotionally to be able to handle what it is that He's calling you into. Okay. And so, it is it's for your enrichment. I mean, there's so much to it, and so, but just really being aware of that, and then being grounded, rooted and grounded in Him, being grounded in community, being grounded, putting implementing things to make sure you also protect your mental health, that you're not emotionally overwhelmed, that you don't give up. Okay, do not give up because that's what the enemy wants you to do, and the thing is too, I don't know if this is very encouraging, but you will keep going through it. Like, if you, because there's a testing that needs to happen before you enter into the next level. If you give up and you go do something else, when God has called you to something, He's going to bring you back around and you're going to go through that
Oh,
testing. Okay.
you will
You-
take the test.
so I don't know if this is that encouraging, but just you might as well go through it, but go through it well, knowing that you're not alone in it, that the Lord is with you, and that there are people that he sent your way. There are resources, there are communities that you're a part of, okay? And he's going to take you through it. And when you elevate, you're gonna look back and be like, wow, I am grateful. It may not feel great right now, but you will be like, I am grateful because there's a depth of understanding that is born through suffering that you that is hard to comprehend if you haven't gone through. And know that don't be surprised that whatever it is that you are called to is what you're going to be tested in. So if you're called to heal people emotionally, you're going to be tested emotionally. If you're called financially, you may be tested financially. You may be broke for a little bit. Like, so just recognizing that, and in it all, God gets the glory and you will be okay. All right.
You will be okay. Yes, absolutely. And take that step. Thank you all so much. Let's give it up to all our speakers. Thank you, thank you, thank you for, taking the time to share with us. Has been amazing. I hope you are full. One thing we know is that what the goal doesn't change, but the underlying message I hope you've gone today is that the goal doesn't change, but the goal will change you. The goal doesn't change. It will change your discipline. It would identify gaps. It will change and test your character. It will reveal your values. That is what the goal is able. So if you're looking the same like last year, then something isn't right. The goal is meant to change you, and it's meant to change you for the better. Because there's certain things that you'll be able to do, some myths you had, like everything, right? You can see how these speakers are speaking, can tell you that there are some internal changes that are taking place. All right, so thank you, speakers. Thank you.